Washington loses to Tampa Bay in the wild card round of the NFL playoffs, and Baltimore held Derrick Henry to under 50 yards rushing in a big playoff win over Tennessee. Hi, I'm Marvin Jackson, and welcome to the Sideline Report. Joining me as always are Donna Hopkins, Lou Holder, Lake Lewis, and for the first time, Lorenzo Alexander. Thanks for joining us, Zoe.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Good to catch up with you guys and see all these great faces. It brings back a lot of great memories from my Washington days.
That's right. Yeah, we had some good times with you. Now, Washington loses in this first wild card game, but there were some positives there, right?
Yeah, there was a ton of positives. I mean, I think mainly headlined by Heinicke and the way Taylor came out there and balled out in that game where he hadn't played all year, minimal reps, and didn't really know if he was going to start. Now, you probably asked him now, he probably did know he was going to start. And it was just cool to really see him go out there, ball, stand toe-to-toe with Tom Brady. I thought the defense had to be the bell cow in order for them to win. Defense didn't play that great, but Taylor kept him in the game. And it was a grind him out type game. He banged up his shoulder. People thought he was not going to be knocked out, and he came back and finished strong and had over 300 yards in a playoff game with all that pressure on him and facing Tom Brady. He made a name for himself, and hopefully, at least gives him an opportunity for next year with this organization to maybe fight for that starting role. And if he can continue to play like this, I think this team has a lot of great potential and hope, moving in the future.
Lou, let's talk about what this meant for Coach Rivera. I mean, this was a long season for him. I mean, in so many ways, on and off the field. And talk about what this meant probably for Coach Rivera.
Well, for Coach Rivera, I mean, obviously the fact of the matter is that he came in here to change the culture and check. I mean, the cultures were changed. He did so much throughout the year, from fighting cancer to making hard decisions. And, one of the last ones is playing Tyler Heinicke. And Taylor Heinicke reminds me a lot of Lorenzo Alexander. I mean, he came in, for all of us who know, when Lorenzo came into the league, he was not highly drafted. He played his butt off on special teams and made a name for himself. When I was seeing Taylor Heinicke out there, I thought a lot of Lorenzo Alexander, who made a name for himself in the league by just playing hard. You don't have to be the highly drafted person. You just got to want it. And Taylor Heinicke wanted it. Lorenzo Alexander wanted it. And, the draft slot cannot predict heart and character. It cannot predict heart and character. And that's what we saw from a lot of those players throughout the year. And, going back to Ron Rivera, he had a lot to do with bringing that out of him, Marvin.
Yeah, Heinicke pretty much kept the team enthusiastic. I mean, he just plays with this enthusiasm and confidence for a guy who had not been around all season. And Donna, talk about that. I mean, how inspiring is that for the rest of the team?
Yeah, Marvin, it is, because he came in here with, like they said, make the most of your opportunities, and that's what he did. When you look at Alex Smith not being able to play, and you look at Heinicke, that was a gusty move for Coach Rivera to make by having Heinicke come in and play, because Alex Smith wouldn't have been able to get past that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, because Heinicke made some plays with his feet most of that game, and he just played straight out ball as far as loose and everything. So his energy spilled over to the rest of the team. You saw when he dived for the touchdown, and then Chase Young came over pointing at the back of his jersey. That was some energy that you hadn't seen all year long from this team. And like Lorenzo said, that hopefully his play, well, even if he's not with this Washington football team, somebody is going to snag onto this kid as far as that. So he made the most of his opportunity, and he gave this Washington team an opportunity to win, but with no running game, that hurts also.
Lake, you're out there all the time with the team. Talk about the camaraderie that was there, and how do you think this team responded to Coach Rivera this season? It seemed like they responded very well to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you talk of culture change, I mean, keep bringing Lorenzo up, but this time bring him up in a negative light, not because of him, but because unfortunately he played, for some teams that chemistry wasn't there. And, you had guys that fought tooth and nail every week like him. And then maybe on the other side of the locker room, somebody else wasn't. Well, Ron Rivera definitely changed that this year. And you could see from day one, you just got a different energy. It was a large group of young players on this team, first-year players, second-year players. So guys that are still, trying to find their way in the NFL. But I thought all the guys listened to the message of Ron Rivera. I mean, how could you not? This guy's been a two-time coach of the year. Had they maybe 1, 2, or 3 down the stretch this year, he may have been in the running, with Cleveland's coach to be coach of the year this year. So, you had a guy that took a team to a Super Bowl, had an MVP with Cam Newton. So clearly young guys were going to listen to him, but they played for him. And you heard guys, Jeremy Reeves said that, he'd run through a wall for the guy. Brandon Sheriff, after their loss on Saturday, said, that the culture's changed and that he loves his coach and that this was the first time in a long time that he had a team that everyone got along. So I definitely think the future's bright for the team, and they definitely have the right guy in place to lead them there, Ron Rivera.
Speaking of future, Lorenzo, talk about Alex Smith and Taylor Heinicke. Are these guys going to be around next year?
Well, we have to wait and see. I mean, obviously they're going to the offseason and kind of make their evaluations. And Ron Rivera, who, by the way, is a Cal guy, will do a great job of identifying, their talent and looking out who's free agents, looking at the draft and see how they can best build their team moving forward. But obviously you want to keep a guy like Alex around. And not only, obviously he can play the game, but because of who he is as a quarterback. And normally when you have quarterbacks in this league, there's a couple of different type of backups, right? Guys that can come in and hopefully maybe become your future guy, or you have guys that are just there to help young guys learn the game. And if you decide you want to go with a Taylor Heinicke, you want to probably keep Alex Smith around. Maybe he's not, your second guy, maybe your third guy, have to figure out the contract situation, but want a guy like that in the room to help groom him and give him a player's perspective of how he can continue to get better. And then also always look at in the draft, trying to find, that diamond in the rough, depending on where you're drafting at and stuff for the future. And that's something that's going to probably happen. But based on the way Heinicke played, I would be shocked if he's not here, at least for OTAs, mini camp and training camp, because the way he played, the way he put that team on his shoulders in that moment and during that time, he's earned the right. And knowing Ron and the character guy he is, I would be, like I said before, very surprised if Taylor is not back, and then obviously Alex in some type of capacity to help that development and maturation with obviously Taylor, but also any other young quarterback that decide to sign to the roster as well.
All right, Lou, we got about a minute left. Talk about, what are the other possibilities at quarterback? Are there any veterans around the league who can come in and also work with Heinicke and Smith? Are there any draft picks that are possible? Lou, we got about 45 seconds, Lou. Tell us.
I mean, well, obviously we're going to say the words, but Cam Newton is going to be out there. I mean, Cam Newton is going to be out there. You asked, so I have to throw it out there. I don't know. Wouldn't want Cam Newton here. I don't know if he's good for the chemistry here. But I mean, he's going to be out there as far as one of those veterans. I mean, in the draft, I mean, who knows if Washington is picking 19, who knows who's going to be there at 19? It could be that quarterback from Alabama. There could be a multitude of quarterbacks out there. But if there's a quarterback available, you got to take a quarterback. You got to keep hitting that piñata. Even if Alex is there, even if Taylor Heinicke is there, you got to take a quarterback. If one is available that is there, you have to take one and keep swinging at that piñata until you get a long-term fix.
All right, well, let's take a quick break. And when we return, we'll break down the Baltimore Ravens' chances of going forward. Stick around, everybody.